Jamaica is a blue country.
Aloha, and welcome to our 8th annual UN Sustainable Development Goals and Global Human Rights gathering. It's the United Nations General Assembly high-level opening week, plus also this year, quite unique, the UN SDG Summit and Climate Week, New York City. It's a human rights approach and holistic action plan at UN 2030 at halftime. It's a unique time. It's a moral architecture of municipal and multilateral movements. Leave no one behind and build back better. We're also commemorating the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And it's really halfway for the UN Sustainable Development Goals. It's a high-impact indigenous strategy of stakeholders, inclusive initiatives, and international assistance solidarity to shape our collective world. It's been quite a busy week here at the UN General Assembly, and right now we're at a Blue Planet Alliance event where we're looking at 100% by 2045. But we all know, of course, what matters most is the education that then leads to mobilization, that then leads to realization. So it's an honor to have you, when we shine, come and share with us. Not what you've done because the situation demands action, with what we faced recently on the highness, but what you've always done with what matters most. Understanding that education is the key to a new future, to changing our mindset, but more importantly, expanding our perspective of what's possible on this planet. And it's really an honor to partner with you here as we are able to have a side event at the 78th UN General Assembly high-level panel. And what's so important is there are hundreds of events. But what we thought was absolutely crucial was sharing the story from Maui about what we're doing with education that then plants the seeds for what's possible in the future. So I'll now hand it over and hear from you about the amazing work. Hear the roars of applause for you here at the Budokan. Excited to hear what you have to share. Thank you so much, and I'll hand it over now.
Aloha, thank you. Thank you so much, Joshua Cooper. We are honored to be present and join with you on this global event. We are here on the island of Maui, which is in the island state of Hawaii, located in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. My name is Melinda Carroll, and I'm the founder and CEO of When We Shine Foundation. It's a nonprofit that's dedicated to developing skills in environmental leadership and stewardship through multimedia arts integration and education for students, teachers, and our community. And it's our humble honor to be present in this program today. Thank you. The state of Hawaii is the most isolated populated landmass in the world. More than 90% of our flora is found nowhere else on Earth. Our ecosystems are fragile in our lands, our forests, and our mountains, and in the sea surrounding us. This issue of climate change is extremely urgent for us, and we feel very responsible in teaching and creating quality education for our children and their children to carry on and to have the ability and the resilience to manage and navigate these times. We are advocates of multimedia art, and we know what the power of art and student engagement can be. We want to play you a tiny snippet of a story. We ended up writing songs for the island of Kaho'olawe. Kaho'olawe was being bombed since World War II, up until, I believe, 1992, and I think that's the right year. Advocates for the island had to create extreme measures to stop the bombing. And it was very traumatic for a lot of people, for the Hawaiian culture. And because of the preciousness of that island, it turns out that Kaho'olawe is considered Pico means center. It's considered the pico of the pico of the pico. So it's the pico of the island nation of Hawaii. It's the pico of the world. It's the pico of the universe. And this little island used to be the center of navigation, celestial navigation and learning. The students learned these songs, and I want to show you an example of their kind of engagement. It's called "This Is Our Promise to Help."
Introducing new buttermilk biscuits in sweet and savory flavors.
That's
Everyone
okay.
can have their perfect biscuit.
You know what? We can always edit.
Okay, good.
What was so important, though, I think
Yeah.
was most valuable, is I
Yeah.
remember going to Kahulawe and Makahiki time
Mm,
and understanding the sacredness of that land, but
Yeah.
understanding, of course, that too often we don't stand up for what's most important. And
Yeah.
what's really crucial is that the youth are able to make sure that they can dedicate their entire lives to what we know matters most. But I'll hand it back to you and also the importance of SDG number 4.
Everybody for 2 minutes.
I was trying to make it loud. One of the examples that we wanted to show was not just learning about the island. We had some of the preservation people from Kaho'olawe come and teach the students the history and the stories, as well as the Hawaiian cultural importance of the island. But the song kept evolving. It evolved from creating the stories in the song and onto music videos, which came on the side, which also came out of that. And then Jaden Isobe, who we're going to talk to some more later, created a whole play around it. And it was through the perspective of the Willy Willy tree, the 500-year-old tree that has withstood all of the bombing, the whole incredible devastation that happened. But it was a very poignant commentary on our times and on the way that we are treating the earth and the world right now. And it was still one of my favorite albums and kinds of integrative art that we get to work with the children. And so in integrating the history as well as the culture, as well as their own perspective of how it is relevant to them now. One of the aspects that I do want to say importance of our work as When We Shine Foundation is we're here to add a component of value and support to our teachers. And without that extra sidebar of creating community, we feel that our teachers aren't as motivated, and also it's harder to see each other in the schools and in our small island. So one of our missions, and we started this last year, launching our very first program, was to create a professional development program that was a 4-day immersion. We held it from June 12th through the 15th. And it was not your normal training. We did our program on site, and the teachers there were 30 teachers from 9 different public schools here on Maui, and it was titled Arts and Aina Explorations, Immersion Experience. But it included hands-on, full body, mind, and heart participation with each of these teachers. And each day was a new adventure in unfolding cultural participation. So they really learned about a sense of place, of where they were, and how, you know, not just to implement it and feel immersed in it there, but then to take it back to their own school and find the resources there that help them uncover the history and the relevance again of the land that they are living on, and open them up to the culture, that this rich, amazing culture that surrounds them. This was an unfolding, of course, of cultural place-based knowledge and collaboration and inspiration. But it was there, we did this to build community understanding and purpose that we can keep building on and continue. And I just want to share a little snippet from that experience. It was very powerful and incredibly well received. And we're excited to continue this kind of programs in our island home.
Arts and Aina Explorations was created to inspire teachers to develop a sense of place through the arts, led by visual arts teaching artist Shelley Toon Lindbergh, Kauai teaching artist Mauliola Cook, and Aina-based learning designer and teacher Hokuau Pellegrino. Teachers were immersed in Hawaiian culture, values, and language by visiting significant cultural locations, huaka'i, reflecting an olelo noe'au, and hands-on exploration of strategies in visual arts, storytelling, and creative movement. With UH Maui College Art Rooms as our home base, we explored 3 off-site locations: Kealia Pond National Wildlife Refuge to learn about the Pa'akai Restoration Project, Waikapu Valley, and Noho'ana Farm in Waikapu. Through these explorations, teachers gained insight and understanding of cultural stories, place names, flora and fauna, environmental impacts, and dreams for the future of these vahipana.
So this week, participating in the Arts and Aina Explorations program, I felt very inspired by all of the mo'olelo we've been hearing, all of the places that we've been visiting, and it's made me really think about where our school is and what ahupua'a we sit in and the resources around us that we can tap into so that we can build the ike around that for our school.
This week has been very awakening for me. It's been a great opportunity to be able to explore in the arts. I don't have the biggest background with that, so a lot of this is new, it's uncomfortable, it's boundary pushing, but I feel welcomed, I feel comfortable to try, and I don't feel like eyeballs are on me, which is really nice. And then just the experience of going out into different places in Waikapu has been amazing. I feel like I have been kind of ignorant to a lot that has been up here, and I feel like I'm getting a little bit more background and want to continue to learn more.
Teachers will ignite their classrooms with their new arts integration strategies and with their deeper love for their place back in their schools.
I love that video. That was a little bit more than the earlier one I think we shared at the UN High Level Political Forum, giving a little deeper taste of the richness of the place-based education. And so please continue. That was actually exciting to see, and I hope what we can really look at, especially post wildfires, and also looking deeply at a really human rights-based approach to recovery, how the children can lead the way and be part of the solution. And that, of course, arts, of course, is what breathes the life into what matters most.
Absolutely, our 100% correct. And it is our children who have to absorb this experience, process it, and somehow move out and toward building community again. This is, the post-Maui fires is this kind of disaster is teaching children again, once trauma enters the classroom, and we are so very, very intensely aware of this right now, of absorbing some of these children who have come over from the Lahaina fire's side and are now being reabsorbed into different schools on the other side of the island. And part of that transitioning is helping to create a space of emotional literacy, of a place that they can feel safe and that people, can give them the tools that they're going to need right now. And arts are our way in. It just so happened that during COVID, which was a different kind of disaster in which children were socially isolated and from each other and from their families and friends, and we initiated a project called to create a song and a music video, and we worked in the schools with full masks. We also did some of the songwriting processes online with the children. And it turned into this beautiful song called Heart of Aloha. And we got our artist mentor, John Cruz, to join us on this. What was so special about the song right now, I feel, is it's completely pertinent and relevant to what's happening with the fires. The children were asked to a number of questions about what their experience was like, what they were going through, and what they would ask the adults to provide for them to make them feel safer and help guide them through. And the song ended up speaking to Hawaiian values of basic, human kindness. And the song, again, is called Heart of Aloha, and we would love to share that with you now. And again, featuring our famous singer-songwriter from the islands, John Cruz.
We can get through this together. We can do our part. That's the heart of aloha. Troubled times seem dark and lonely. There's danger lurking. It's so confusing. Then I remember what I'm going to do. My kuleana is my ohana, protecting family and those who need my help. Like my kupuna and your kupuna too. We can get through this together. We can get through this together. We can get through this together. We can do our part. That's the heart of aloha. Aloha ke kahi. Be kind and gentle when you can. Laulima, hands in unity. Malama lama, light of knowledge. Ho'oponopono, do the right thing. Support each other. Aloha is our strength. Together, we can get through this together. We can get through this together. We can do our part. That's the heart of aloha. The sun is shining, freedom's rising, like a seabird over the ocean blue. Splashing, guiding the rolling waves. Lean together and paddle stronger. Feel your senses getting sharper. In Lokahi, a perfect
Right. I just want to say again that every lyric in there and the melody and the voices are all the children singing along, of course, with John Cruz. They created all of the artwork and the storyboard, identifying the characters in their story and all the symbols and art. And that was the teaching artist Shelley Toon Lindbergh who guided them in all the art, the visual part, and then teaching them the stop motion. Again, stop motion video and music go really well together, turns out. And but we really feel that our work is to help develop our children's abilities and expertise in becoming creators rather than consumers, of seeing the world as in their grasp, in their story, and then helping them build those new stories. And that's part of what When We Shine Foundation is all about. I would, at this time, I would love to introduce to you another amazing artist, way more than artist educator. Let me just say that. Sean Lane, who is sitting with us here, fortunately, happens to be visiting from the mainland, doing some work with our schools here on Maui and on Oahu. He's an arts integration consultant and the founder of Focus 5 Incorporated, an international arts education consulting company where teaching is an art form and learning is a work of art. As a master artist for the Wolf Trap Institute, Sean Lane worked across the country and internationally, designing and piloting new residency and workshop models. He is also a senior consultant for the education department at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. He travels the world working with a wide variety of schools and communities, changing the culture of education as we know it for teachers and for students into creative, fun, adaptive models for these unstable times. I want to welcome Sean Lane. Thank you so much for being with us.
It's my pleasure to be here. My favorite place. I've been working in the schools here in Hawaii for probably close to 20 years. And it is just like so gratifying and rewarding to watch what you just shared and to see how the arts are not just a vehicle for learning, but they're a vehicle to responding to what is happening in our daily lives, like the immediacy that the arts play in responding to crisis, to joy, to celebration even. And I'm super excited to have a little time here to speak to the UN's initiative on quality education and how it can connect so powerfully to the arts and how they integrate into quality education. And when we focus on quality education, you know, there's usually two questions that our discussion is centered around, and that is, what should we teach and how should we teach it? And what we should teach, usually the top three whats are reading, writing, and math, those top three literacies. And then there's, a lot of stuff we can teach outside of that, and that's always up for debate, but we're typically focusing on those three big literacies. How we teach that changes. It can change from state to state, from district to district, from country to country, and that's always in a fluid state with curriculums changing and programs changing. So what should we teach and how should we teach it? I'd like to add a question to that mix that would precede both of those questions, and that's, who are we teaching and how, right? Who are we teaching? We're teaching people. Melinda was speaking to our hearts, right? To teaching to the students' hearts and souls. We're not thinking beings that feel, we're feeling beings that think. And in the 35 years of being an international consultant, I've seen a lot of classroom management and a lot of frustration around it. Why? Because teachers are trying to manage something that was never taught. Who taught students how to do things like concentrate and cooperate and collaborate, communicate, and ultimately create? It's just not being explicitly taught. So I suggest we change our minds and not focus so much on managing behavior, but focus on teaching behavior. And we perceive behavior as a literacy. Just like we perceive reading and writing and math as literacies, let's add behavior to that list. And when we do that, it transforms learning, right? When we start there, we teach students how to be socially literate so they can engage in learning. And that all begins with three energetic states of calm body, focused mind, balanced emotions. If we're in those 3 states of calm, focus, and balance, the brain can do what we want it to do, which is send information to our executive functions. So to me, one of our highest goals is how do we help students create that habit of mind of embodying calm, focus, and balance, especially in the face of trauma and poverty and all things that can cause us not to be in those 3 states of calm, focus, and balance. I'd love to show you a quick video of a school that's focused on arts integration and behavioral literacy, just to give us an overview of what this can look like and hear teachers talking about the impact of changing their approach to teaching. This is a school right outside of Washington, D.C., an extremely diverse school, and I'm excited to share this probably 4-minute video.
Are we ready? Turn to your partner. I had tried various strategies that were incorporated in our curriculum. What do you know about a dog? And, you know, I just kind of felt like, oh, arts integration is just one more thing that we have to do. And this year, I had 12 boys in my class. I was willing to try anything, and it worked. Behaviors have diminished greatly in our classroom. And I will say that there has been a huge contribution because of what I've learned through arts integration.
So in Acting Right, we teach students that everybody has 5 tools that they can use, and those tools are their body, their voice, their imagination, their concentration, and their cooperation.
When you step back and you think of behavior as a literacy, and that all students are on a continuum, it just feels much easier to approach. Open your eyes, find a strong focal point somewhere in front of you. Student is struggling with one of those skills, we can say, can you be in control of your voice? Or are you the boss of your body right now? The challenge is on. Are you strong enough to keep your focus? Starting now. For a lot of students, it's empowering to think that they are the boss of something in their life.
Once our students have a strong grasp and a strong control of the actor's toolkit and the concentration challenge and the cooperation challenge, that's when we can really expect them and ask them to cooperate with their peers for the sake of producing something and creating something that you're prompting them to create.
A tableau is a still or non-moving picture that depicts what a child has learned or have been asked to do. In the planning stages, they have to ask 3 questions. What should we make? What parts do we need? What part will I play? And so they've thought about it, they've shared, they've planned, and then they're creating.
When you're working with a worksheet, we're asking them to kind of just take the information and, you know, copy and paste it to where it belongs. But with a Tableau, They have to take that information and then use their higher level thinking skills and their critical thinking skills to kind of work through it. It's scaffolded much like we would scaffold a lesson. So, you know, in the very beginning, you're just teaching the basic fundamentals of behavior. Then it builds on how to build a classroom community and how to work together.
Today, we got ourselves ready to practice the art form of tableau. My students worked in groups to create a frozen picture that would go along with a sentence that had to do with our science standards that we're covering.
The function of the leaves is to make food for the plant.
It's just so different than the traditional way that I've been taught to teach. It just gets them way more involved. We get to work on fluency in reading. We get to incorporate a content area, and then we also get to incorporate the drama.
I believe in arts for art's sake. I don't have to justify it by connecting it to something else. However, I can connect it to other things. I feel that that makes it even more important to include the arts in every day of a child's education.
So that gives us a broad overview of how learning can change when we focus on explicit behaviors. I know as I was watching that, I don't know about you two, but I'm thinking that could have easily been filmed here on Maui, especially at a school like Pomaka'i that has been focusing on that exact work since they opened, right? And it just changes the culture of learning in a building. And when we think about learning, I know the UN, their quality education goals also focus on those literacies of numeracy and reading. The arts are uniquely positioned to address that goal. I'd like to show you two very quick videos. They're about 2 minutes each of teaching artists from my company, Focus 5. These videos exemplify some arts integrated connections we can make with those two goals of literacy and math. The first video is Kuniko Yamamoto connecting math and her art form, which is origami. Just like for you to listen to how she connects those two areas.
Once upon a time, in Japan, mukash, a little 5-year-old girl was overcome by her fears of the dark. At night, she begged her mother to accompany all the way to her bathroom through the hallway. Because it's dark, there are monsters and ghosts. She has to protect her from them. Her mother refused, and instead, she taught her how to take her fears and fold them this way and fold them that way until they were a beautiful flower. The little girl was enchanted by the beauty and felt a power fight her fears. So she would make 27 of them because there are 27 steps all the way to her bathroom, and each step, the flower protects her. Her love of paper folding began. You might have guessed already, that little girl was me. And I am still folding. Origami. Ori means to fold. Gami means paper, the art of paper folding. Many students do not understand geometry in a textbook. That's where origami comes in. We start with nothing but a flat piece of paper and begin folding sides, matching vertices, and dividing angles and creating shapes over and over. Not only the math vocabulary begins to make sense, but fractions become obvious. In this residency, students fold a lot of paper, talk a lot about math, and make some amazing origami designs that demonstrate how geometry and art come to life in their hands. We are going to fold something out of nothing and fold all of our knowledge about math into a work of art. I'm Kuniko Yamamoto, and this is my residency, folding fractions, origami, and math.
We cannot hear you.
I was gonna say, it reminds me of my time working in Hiroshima on the Sadako origami project. And of course, today is an important day for us to meet. It's the International Day of Peace. So there's been many events throughout the United Nations. There's the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty that was meeting that's being sponsored by Vanuatu as well as Tuvalu. Understanding that if we go above 1.5, unfortunately, we will really end life as we know it for people of the Pacific. It's also an important day with different activities. The UN General Assembly has heads of state speaking, but it's also the Ambition Pledge Conference sponsored by Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General, who said, "We have entered the gates of hell." And I think, of course, when we all have seen what happened on our beautiful island of Maui, we're the most isolated landmass that's inhabited, but it shows something that we've said for a decade before, that today Tuvalu, tomorrow you. And if it can impact Maui, we definitely know that climate change will impact everyone around the world. And we are really partnered with our brothers and sisters in the Pacific to know that 1.5 is not just to stay alive, but to thrive and not to have to live in a circumstance where our lives are threatened due to the actions of people around the planet. So it begins with the keiki. It also, of course, goes with the song. I love the John Crew song because I'm right now with Hank Rogers and the Blue Planet Alliance. They'll be hosting an event tomorrow night at the Hard Rock Hotel, right around from the Times Square, and John Cruz will be playing there. So maybe we can add that to the recording. But what I think is so important is really thinking a new way. Everybody always said, act globally, think locally. But what I believe with your model of education is it's thinking locally in a place-based knowledge system and then acting globally. And from Maui, it can ripple throughout the world. But it also resonates with other indigenous cultures in Vanuatu and Tuvalu and Kiribati, where they understand the exact same perspective of what matters most. And that is island Earth, which we're all fortunate to have and to be able to live in. But we have to build on that. And one of the things that I also had this weekend, UNGA, this was Nainoa Thompson arrived, and he's here. He had an event at Patagonia on Monday night. He had a great joke where he said it's harder to navigate the streets of New York than it is of the great Moana Nui Akea. And we're organizing an event for Maui on Sunday where the people from FEMA, the people from EPA, the Housing Urban Development, those agencies that have come through Maui and assisted in the recovery will be able to be on Hokulea on Sunday. So I'm coordinating that on Sunday, and he said the only way we want to do it is all we want to do is mahalo them, is to thank them for all that they've done, as gracious, of course, as he is. So I think the program we're sharing tonight, the examples of education, and what I value most about When We Shine is it's the teacher training. It's knowing that it can't just be a small part of the curriculum. It really has to be integrated. We have to look at DOE and let them know that it's not something on the periphery, but it's at the core of really the conscience of our K.
Really it is.
in assessing what is possible. And we know now that holistic education is the only way we can go forward. And unfortunately now it's the first time even I admit that I have to speak from a directly impacted perspective as opposed to an advocate. I've normally been there with the people of the Pacific, standing in solidarity shoulder to shoulder. But now you can see it in the eyes of people when they talk to you. They hurt for Maui and they want to know how you're doing. And the most beautiful thing I can say is everyone I've worked with in Lahaina and Cuba are taking actions to give everything they have to each other. And it shows that selflessness. And it's those acts of aloha that inspire you, because it's the people who lost everything that are making the 1,000 meals a day at Merriman. They lost their apartment. They haven't thought for a moment of what they should do, but how we can only take care of each other and looking at what each one of us do. And I think that's what's important about your education program is not everyone has to become a public policy analyst. Not everybody has to become a person that focuses at the county council. What's important is people find what their skill set is and then share that to contribute to the vision of what Maui can be. And looking at Maui Nui, looking at what Lanai offers, what Molokai offers, and then taking it steps by steps. And there's a great video I have, I might be able to show it later, but it's a speech. So one of the things we're looking at now is we're here at halftime. And halftime might not seem like a big deal, but it's the World Cup of Rugby. You know, everyone's excited about the big games these days that Fiji beat Australia. Unfortunately, the All Blacks had a small stumble with France on the opening day. But at halftime, the one thing we can say is I was there in the negotiations in 2015. There was a video showed on Saturday night. It was it's called The Agreement. And it showed the ambassador of Kenya and Ireland trying to get these sustainable development goals agreed upon by all 193 countries. And it was. But what was also important is then, like, how do we implement these in each one of our communities? And they have 169 targets, 220 indicators. But what it comes down to is what can we all do and how can we contribute? And I think when we shine really adds that voice, and it amplifies it in two directions. One, with the keiki directly, but two, with the teachers. And we all know, unfortunately, in Hawaii and in the U.S. broader context, education isn't valued as much. But we know it's essential for the well-being, for people to develop who they are and their identity, but then more importantly, to help each other and to really reach out. And so I'll stop there, but I'll hand it over to you again to continue. And I really appreciate the video as well as the aspect of origami, because it's really, I say, three things. It's art, it's activism, and then it's advocacy. And I'll contribute to what Mayor Biss was talking about Pono public policy. And I'll stop there, but mahalo, and I look forward to the next aspect you want to share.
Yeah, I'm reminded as you're speaking just how empowering the arts can be for us, all of our students, in becoming change makers. The arts aren't just a vehicle for academic subjects like reading and math. The UN's quality education goal also encompasses the goals of sustainable lifestyles and human rights, gender equality, the promotion of culture and peace, nonviolence, global citizenship, and appreciation of cultural diversity and of a culture's contribution to sustainable development. So that's bigger than just learning how to read, how to write, how to do math. And the last video I want to show you is an example of, again, how we can use the arts to connect to being agents of change. So I want to show the shadow puppetry connecting to the power of a change maker. Yeah, this is Daniel Barash and shadow puppetry.
I tell stories in the dark. Well, that's not entirely true. I need a little bit of light and a lot of imagination. There is something magical about shadow puppets dancing across an illuminated screen, Bold shapes and dynamic movements tell stories in a different, enchanting way. What if those stories were about a part of our curriculum? And what if students created the puppets and got behind the screen to bring the stories to life? Well, I can make that happen. In this residency, I'm going to guide students to explore issues that are threatening our natural world and the action steps that can be taken to protect it. We will learn about several youth activists from around the globe and choose one of these changemakers' stories to perform. The students will create the puppets and the scenery and bring the story to life through the art of shadow theater. Before our time ends, students will even consider how they can be the agents of change in their own communities. Ready to see your curriculum light up behind a screen and your students light up with engagement? Let's illuminate learning with the arts. I'm Daniel Barash, and this is my residency, Shadow Puppetry and the Power of a Changemaker.
Wow. Creative.
I was gonna say, I think it's almost Indonesia inspired, but I think what's so important is I think we are able to offer opportunities for our youth to see all the different ways that they can express themselves, be it through song, be it through. I actually have to say, thinking about the last month at the President Biden event at the Civic Center, what was so inspiring was, I don't want to name names, but Amos was fighting the fires and then leading the EOC. And then during one of the songs, just being the Renaissance man that he is, stands up and also does the hula as well. But it was at least a dozen different people just expressing through hula their emotions and what they're feeling. That we really have to be able to offer all of those models so that people can find what resonates most in their soul. And then being able to then, as you said, speak and share and tell their stories in different ways. And what I think we have to look at going forward, not to be captured by what happened to us or let it define us, but allow us to be able to use the arts to express what we've endured, but also still share that vision of what we hope for with Aloha Aina. And so, one thing I will say, I'm here at the UN General Assembly, and we can't allow people who are not on Maui to try to define what happened to us and how it happened. One thing I saw was there's a flyer on the floor. I'm walking by the General Assembly, and there was a flyer on the floor, and it tried to say that Paradise City and Lahaina were acts of a smart city to move people into a central aspect. And it's definitely conspiracy and crazy, but the wildfires in our minds are there. And we have to be able to use what we all know in Hawaii and share with each other to not allow disinformation to get in it. It was the last thing I ever thought I would ever see. And for some reason, I just ran back and I was like, there's a flyer on the floor that didn't make any sense, but let me see. And the last line said Lahaina Maui. And we cannot allow someone to say that what happened there or define what matters most. We have to be able to make sure that our keiki are able to have the final word. And I think you using creative arts allows them to communicate in different ways. One of the other groups we work with is Robert F. Kennedy Speak Truth to Power. And they have two amazing contests. One is a song contest. And the exciting part is when you sing a song and you create it, it's then featured and shared with the Grammy committee. But the other one is the Tribeca Film Festival. So one thing I'm hoping that we can do as we partner, and it's great to know my computer knows it's 5 o'clock, and we won't allow that to define our time limits, is it is crucial to then allow also youth with their aptitude for social media that we don't all embrace this equally, to be able to tell their stories through that. And the Tribeca Film Festival recognizes short films made by youth about issues that matter most to them.
And I think that's one thing that we can add, that we can always bring all these pieces together based on how youth want to express themselves. And it might be through the song, it might be through the puppetry, it might even be through a play where they're able to then share what matters most and indicate to us the direction of how we have to go. I've watched the county council meetings. I've had different meetings with people in Lahaina, in Kula. And what I think most important is we have to figure out how we want to go forward based on what matters most to us. And I think I shared briefly with Melinda that I thought, childcare would be important because a lot of people come to a meeting and it's not something that we just say, oh, here's childcare and have the kids play on their iPads. It's allowing them to be able to express themselves because I know with their intuition and their astuteness of what they've experienced, they will provide greater insights on what we have to include as we go forward. I'll stop there, but you please keep going, and I know you have a little bit more to share.
Yeah, one more voice that's important to hear, and that's the voice of Jaden is the creative literacy library and media teacher at Pomakai Elementary School, the only arts integration public school in the state of Hawaii. And it's here in Maui.
Right here.
Yeah. He's currently on the front lines welcoming the children from the Lahaina fires back into the classroom at his school. Jaden brings his own teaching artistry plus a fluency in Hawaiian studies and culture. He was recently uniki, or graduated as a master teacher in the art of hula, kuma hula. Yeah, he dedicates much of his time and his art and teaching experience. And we have a lot to learn from him, and I'm excited to hear what he has to share with us.
So Melinda, I get to learn from these two master teaching artists. And as a teacher at a school that is always on the learning edge, we get to experience different things and collaborate with amazing people. And so I just wanted to share one of the projects that we've stumbled across through this tragic time of the fires. And we're partnering with Small Town Big Art. So that is a Wailuku town, and they kind of make huge murals on buildings, they tell kids. And I get to work and see every child at our school. So last week, we took it upon ourselves to make stickers or sticker designs that will ultimately end up on a building in Wailuku to show that Maui is strong in unity. And the idea came out because, what can children do during this, tough time? They can't really, go in kitchens and cook or, remove all the debris, but they can be the hope as we come together in this time. So we looked at some of the artists around town. We collaborated with our peers on what makes great sticker designs, and then created criteria. And so those things make education quality, like having those conversations, looking and debating about different topics, and then having a quality product. And what does it mean on having quality? And they created these sticker designs that have big thinking, big communication, symbols and metaphors and themes, those that come out of, literature. So kind of connecting that idea too. And then the students got to see some of their artwork up on the wall and are starting to say, yeah, Maui's strong, but we are now strong. So we are going to title our piece that we have, We Are Strong, and it's going to live in our library. And then our final sticker designs are going to be up in Wailuku with Small Town Big Art.
Sweet. That's so cool.
So changing ideas, bringing hope to our community.
It's entirely exciting, and I can share with you one initiative we're doing. I was initially enthralled about Biden visit. I didn't want Lahaina to be politicized in between presidential politics. But what was important, I alluded to earlier about Amos and the experience. But what we will try to do is have a meeting once a month for the people of Lahaina, for the people of Kula, to have a delicious meal and a safe space to be able to talk to each other, to be able to have Hawaiian musicians playing music. And I have to say, one of the coolest aspects that wasn't fully planned was we set up a table at Biden's visit and we made posters and we let all the keiki make posters. And social workers came up to me and children came up and the parents came up afterwards and said it was the best experience. So they made at least a dozen posters to decorate the civic space. And what we're gonna do, and what I've been able to secure funding for, is we'll have one meeting a month with music, with food, and with whatever people want, to be able to just connect and talk about what matters most to them. And that'll be in October, November, December. And the good news is it's funded by Red Cross, but there's no branding. And I was thinking with When We Shine, we can have childcare / art. But most important is I have at least a dozen pictures of youth I worked with who came up afterwards and did great paintings for the Biden visit. They're still hanging in my office. And they all came up and hugged me afterwards. And it was just one part of the program. The White House advance team was very interested to have youth participate, and so was I. But it was very organic and it was exciting I would just walk up to families, to Ohana, to different agencies that were there at that event and say, hey, would you like to make a poster? Also, Maui, I have to give credit. Maui High band teacher talked to their students, and they were some of the best ones. They were definitely adorning the office today. So I think what we can look at is taking our time, but seeing how the amazing methodology that you incorporate can then add to allowing everyone to heal. Because as we look at it, there's really three groups in this process. There's those that are hurting, those that are helping, and those that are hindering. And I think your program shifts people from the hurting to the helping, from the helping to being super advocates, and hopefully even some people who are hindering to understand that we have to really counter cynicism. We have to really harness hope. We have to really organize for optimism. And the keiki of Maui deserve all of that, everything that we can offer. But I'll stop there and hand it back to you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Joshua. And that is absolutely the truth. They deserve it. They deserve this kind of support and encouragement to see that there is hope on the other side of it. And our children that's who they are. They are our hope. But also giving the skills and community. But what I also feel that, Sean's work with Focus 5 and of course with Jaden, who's literally boots on the ground every day, working directly with the children, it is creating a value system and a different kind of culture in which learning isn't confined to one version. It's got a total, a beautiful mosaic of what, of how to express, but also teaches whole child in the sense of, again, emotional literacy, social literacy, all of these games, all these little things that look, oh, isn't it sweet? They're singing a song. There's so much unspoken that is happening while that is going on, creating just a beautiful symbol and medallion. There's a whole energy that goes into that, community cooperation to make that happen, that changes the dynamic. It isn't just what it appears. And I think that's where a lot of adults get jaded and they just look at it and go, oh, yeah, no, it's really important. You don't understand. It's so layered in to our connection to each other, and what we offer and attempt to, again, provide and teach and support.
100%. It's radical revolutionary, but radical meaning going to the roots of what matters
Yeah,
most
yeah,
and
absolutely.
allowing our youth to find their voice.
Yes.
Because unfortunately, too often in school, it's an essay. It's not asking and even touching upon the vast skill set that many youth have. And it's unfortunately, education's been defined too narrowly. I've been fortunate to be a professor for many years and a teacher trainer in Geneva. But I think we all understand that it has to be a rainbow of different skill sets that allow people to express in many ways what they understand and to go forward. And I do applaud, and I know the Office of the Mayor appreciates the unique contribution that you bring to Maui. And what we're excited about doing here today is it's actually an exciting scene. I can say it. I'm sorry I can't share exactly with the room that I'm in right now, but it is Blue Planet Alliance, which is started as Blue Planet Foundation in Hawaii to get Hawaii to commit to be 100% renewable by 2045. And that's good because we already met our goal of 40% by 2030 in 2023. But to realize the world has to come together and see what we can do with one another. And we had a couple of great experiences this week. We had Kamehameha schools participating in let's see how we put it, a working institution meets Ford Foundation side event on Monday at the beginning of the week, which seems like months ago. And it was the 4 keiki that were there. They were awesome. And they said, aloha is our superpower, aloha aina is in our DNA. And they spoke. And the 4th student really hit it. There was a sense of solidarity that, yeah, what happened in Hawaii is horrible. But what happens to everybody everywhere is equally horrible. And we all have to understand that if anyone's impacted, we're all impacted. And it was so amazing to hear the 9th grader really express that. And the UNGA, the UN General Assembly, is important because it's all the heads of state coming here and speaking. But what's also really important is how we take these promises that are made in the UN General Assembly, bring them home, and how we can then implement them in our island through individuals in each classroom, and then each community, and then our Kalana o Maui in the county of Maui. And we look forward to partnering with you going forward and being creative as possible to make sure that we don't want it to be a tokenization of youth, which we see too often. It's welcome. Thank you for dancing and singing. Now it's time to do work. We know that the youth are the current decision makers. And one thing I can announce tonight, and then I'll also respect her time, is we're creating a Maui Youth Futures Hui of 21 members between 12 and 25. And it would be an advisory group, a council, that would take on the bigger issues. So unfortunately, elected officials think about 2 and 4 years. And these youth would think about their lifetime and then put their perspectives in. And then we're also going to look at an elders hui as well. But it's exciting to be able to share SDG 4 of education, looking at it as education for Maui, Nui, but also Moana, Nui, and Kea, and knowing in a way that our future rests with all the other people of the Pacific. And
You're very connected.
Storytelling and through sharing, we'll be able to once again reunite with an area that has so much in common that unfortunately through what has existed in global politics separated us. And tonight I can look right now and see Tonga, Kiribati, and Pacific Island leaders who understand we're all in this together. And of course, we know if we don't take action, 1.5 to stay alive can't just be a campaign slogan. Vanuatu had 2 Category 5 cyclones within a week. And we know that they're the most climate vulnerable country, but we also know how sacred every life and soul is. So we all have to organize together to change the direction of what's possible for humanity. And UNGA right now is happening, but there's also a SDG summit, which is an ambition pledge where people are saying what they'll do to make sure that we don't go above 1.5 or 350 parts per million. And one of the exciting things about Hawaii is it's measured on Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa. Mauna Loa measures the parts per million, how much carbon is in the atmosphere. So it's not just symbolic. It's been measured since 1957. And that's what we can look at going forward. But I'll stop there and thank you so much for sharing. And I'll hand it over to you for final comments.
Thank you.
Joshua, thank you so much for this opportunity. We're so grateful and we really enjoyed it and sharing a little bit and learning too more from you. May I ask you when you're coming back to Hawaii? When are you back on island?
I'm actually back on Sunday evening. I'll be stopping in San Francisco with what I shared earlier. We'll be meeting with Hokulea. They'll be hosting the FEMA, Environmental Protection Agency, Housing Urban Development, all of the national agencies that have been assisting us in the recovery process. And then I'll be home Sunday night. And then we'll be having meetings all week, actually. So please, one thing I did hint at, but if you want a small group of half a dozen to a dozen in Kula on issues that matter to you, we're definitely willing to have those conversations, because I think that's where we're at now, is we have to really be able to have more consistent, constant communication about what matters most for the future of Maui.
Well, thank you. We applaud your work and thank you so much for being there and representing and gathering all this incredible information. And we want to help implement and to share that kind of knowledge and empower our youth. So keep it coming. Thank you.
100%. And I love the way we're fluid this evening. I like Jared running out, coming back.
Yeah,
And I know how busy we all are. I will try to record John Cruz's concert tomorrow evening at the Hard Rock Hotel in Times Square. We'll add that maybe to the program. But it's exciting to see Hawaii once again being part of the family of nations and sharing the wisdom of the ancestral knowledge with the world. And we all know that it's such a rich tradition that it can hopefully assist in transforming the challenges we face today. Mahalo nui. Aloha.
Thank you.